Before, there was a first-class magician named Claude who was rumored to be strong enough to move the stars. At the age of 17, he became a teacher at the Royal Magic Academy and contributed greatly to magical studies. However, one day he disappeared. One day, Spica decides to try flying for the first time. She recites a spell to power her staff to lift her into the air as her friend Arya watches. With confidence, she jumps off the cliff, only to end up running down it since she failed the spell. She eventually trips and falls to the ground, and Arya laughs at her failure. She knew Spica was going to fail, but it was always amusing to see her try. Arya tells her to just quit, but Spica insists she can become a magician. She even has a foolproof plan, which is to study at the Royal Diane Academy where Claude teaches. She believes that if she studies there, she can become a first-class magician. Arya teases her since she does not even have any spells yet, which Spica argues against by saying that she has been training in flight spells every day. Arya thinks Spica holds Claude in too high regard. She reminds Spica that when the school was attacked, Claude had run away instead of protecting it. Spica feels insulted for being reminded of it because she truly looks up to Claude. Arya hugs her and shares that she's only worried about Spica. She believes Spica should hire a magic tutor because she's going to fail the entrance exams due to not knowing any spells. Spica cries because even if she wants a tutor, she does not have the money. Smiling, Arya decides to perform Aquarius magic as a demonstration so Spica can learn by example. Arya gives Spica a knowing smile, saying that Spica can always pay for the lessons with her body, which flusters her. Later, Spica practices flying again on a roof. She decides to learn by herself after all, but when she jumps, she ends up crashing to the ground as usual. Spica remembers Arya's words and realizes she really might fail since the entrance exam is less than a year away. She does not know anyone other than Arya who can do magic. She suddenly hears a voice complaining about not being able to sleep and sees a talking black cat. She wonders if she somehow gained the ability to understand animal speech. Even the cat is shocked that she understood him. The cat walks up to her and uses Sagittarius magic to send her high into the air, and she lands back down again. The cat tells her not to insult him because he was formerly a human magician. He explains that he was cursed into his current form but managed to retain some of his magic. Spica is amazed and bows to the cat, asking him to take her under his wing and teach her magic. The cat thinks she is insane because only magicians with talent can get into the school. He refuses, which causes Spica to grab and beg him to teach her, promising to do whatever he wants. The cat suddenly gets an evil glint in his eyes. Spica recognizes the glint and thinks the cat wants her to wear a swimsuit, which she decides to agree to. The cat denies that he wants that. He decides to take Spica under his wing because she is the first person who can understand him. Spica picks him up to introduce herself, but the cat jumps off and suggests they head to the capital to train. At the capital, the cat tells her to repeat a spell, which she does and learns is actually a request for beer. She ends up buying pints for the cat, who greedily drinks it all. In his drunken state, he tries inviting random ladies to join him, but the girls cannot understand him. Spica strangles him, reminding him of his promise to teach her magic. The cat promises to start teaching her properly, so she lets him go. Spica realizes that she really is the only one who understands him. Meanwhile, the cat is plotting a way so that Spica will give up and leave him alone. He tells Spica that he has one more request, then they can begin training. He brings her to a giant library. He tells her that the library has everything, even the legendary book called Providence, which is impossible to find. He wants Spica to look for the book and study it because it contains a spell that can break his curse. He admits that he does not know which part of the library holds the book, so she needs to search all the magical texts available. Spica thinks it is impossible since the library is huge, but the cat insists that she needs to find it within a month without his help. He would help if he could, but then he touches a book, which triggers an alarm. He explains that non-humans are not allowed to touch the books. The guard comes running toward the cat, recognizing it instantly, so the cat has to run away but wishes Spica luck. She decides to do it, and the cat watches her from a high area, confident that Spica will not be able to find the book. You never want an apprentice to begin with. As he walks, he sees a poster about Claude going missing. He then hears Spica cry out and looks to see that she has grown cat ears and a tail from reading a grimoire about cat transformation spells. That is not the only grimoire she activates. She ends up activating a bunch that causes havoc around the library. Eventually, she gets tired for the day and decides to call it quits for now. The cat studies her, predicting that she will only last 3 days. He is proven wrong when more days pass and Spica continues to dutifully visit the library looking for the book. Almost a month passes and Providence has yet to be found. One late afternoon, the cat finds Spica studying a book about ancient runes. She reasons that she considered the book might be written in an ancient language, so she decided to study so she would not miss it. The cat is impressed because Spica did not seem like the studious type. Spica admits to not really liking reading, but magic is interesting to her, and reading the books makes her want to learn more. The cat sighs and admits that he underestimated Spica. However, since the ending bell is already chiming, it means that her time to search is already over. Spica begs to be given more time, which prompts the cat to ask why she is so fixated on attending Diana. Spica admits that she hopes to become like Claude. The cat asks why she feels that way even though people call Claude a coward. Spica tells the cat that she thinks it is only a rumor. She recalls her experience with Claude. During the incident with the cultists 2 years ago, she happened to be there and nearly lost her life. Just as she was about to give up hope, Claude appeared and defeated the beast that was about to end her. Since then, she has always admired him. She tells the cat that she hopes to become the type of magician who can put her life on the line to save others. The cat scoffs at her story, saying there is no point in saving strangers. He tells Spica they should give up for the day and begins walking off. Just then, Spica notices something on the mother book at the center of the library. The cat asks what she noticed, and she says there are runes on the cover. She identifies each one and even reads the combined meaning, which unlocks the book. It opens a pathway, and the cat feels that Providence is inside, so they both enter the book and run straight ahead. They end up in a hall with a dazzling ceiling, and the cat thinks that all the books in the pocket dimension are forbidden texts, not accessible to other magicians. Suddenly, a runestone begins speaking, claiming to be Providence. Spica is shocked that it can talk, and it shares that it knows her name and is familiar with the curse affecting the cat. Providence says that the curse is karmic, and that it is a forbidden spell that transfers the soul of another being. It points out that Spica has rebirth magic that can help the cat, which surprises her. Seeing that she is not aware of her abilities, Providence tells her that she heals fast for a human, which is an indicator that she possesses special magic. Her expression turns proud and hopeful, and the cat realizes that there is something special about her since she is also the only one who can understand him. The cat smiles because this is his chance to break free from his curse. Spica asks for instructions on how to break the curse, but then gets flustered when Providence tells her to kiss the cat. She panics because it will be her first kiss, and she does not want to lose it to him. As she continues to get embarrassed about giving the cat a kiss on the lips, Providence corrects her and says that she actually has to kiss his behind, which grosses out both Spica and the cat. Providence ignores them and continues to explain how kissing that way is the best method to transfer magic. Spica and the cat continue to panic over the method when suddenly the guard comes through the pocket dimension. Spica is about to apologize for trespassing, but the guard collapses and tells them that the library is under attack. Suddenly, an Orthrus, a magical creature controlled by the cult, bursts through the pocket dimension. They begin running from the beast, hoping to stay alive long enough until the royal army arrives. Spica ends up hanging onto the cat, who tries floating away using magic, but she is too heavy and he has a hard time controlling his magic. It becomes clear they need to fight it. At first, the cat decides to leave it to Spica, but Spica begs him not to leave her. The cat then decides to let Spica kiss him, reasoning that if he becomes human, he should be able to defeat the Orthrus. They begin arguing because Spica refuses to do something so embarrassing or disgusting. Seeing that Spica is resisting so strongly, he decides to call her a coward and someone who cannot achieve her dream due to her weak resolve. She suddenly regrets her hesitation and is about to act, but the Orthrus suddenly appears and hurls magic at her. Just as she thinks she is meeting her end, she believes she sees Claude step in front of her to defend her, but it turns out to be the cat. The cat tells her to start running, and before the Orthrus launches another attack, he uses his magic to blow her away from danger. Landing on the ground, Spica feels worthless again, but she steels herself since she decided to become a magician to protect people. She runs toward the burning building and scoops up the cat. As the Orthrus begins another attack, she kisses the cat, and suddenly Claude appears, no longer in his cursed cat form. Spica is shocked at the true identity of the cat, and Claude unleashes powerful ice magic to defeat the Orthrus. With the beast finally down, he begins descending to the ground with Spica, aware that the cultists are no longer in the area. Spica has a hard time coming to terms with the fact that the cat who bossed her around the entire time was actually Claude. Because of his rude personality, her perfect image of Claude is now ruined. Then she suddenly remembers that she kissed him, but Claude pinches her cheeks in annoyance. He then bids her goodbye since he no longer needs her, but suddenly he transforms back into a cat. Spica takes the opportunity to get back at him by pretending to leave, while Claude begs her to stay. He floats back to where Providence is and demands an explanation. Providence explains that Spica needs to be at the same level as Claude in order to fully lift the curse. Since their interests now align, he decides to agree to train Spica. Spica begins to doubt herself, but Claude swears he can make her a first-class magician like himself and insists that she start calling him teacher. He even insists on getting his job back at the academy, not aware that he is about to meet many interesting students ahead. In Spica's dream, she sees Claude, who asks her for a favor. Suddenly, he turns into a black cat and asks Spica to kiss his behind. Spica wakes up in shock, relieved it was only a nightmare, but that reality crashes in as she sees Claude by her window as a cat. Spica tries to recover from her dream so she can join him for training. Claude starts her first day of training and asks Spica what is needed to use magic. Spica nervously answers that you need a heart full of dreams, which earns her a disgusted look from Claude. Claude explains that the important thing is magical affinity. He explains that everyone is born with an affinity for certain types of magic, and they cannot learn magic outside of their affinity. Spica suddenly realizes that the reason she cannot fly is because she does not have the affinity. She asks what is affiliated with Virgo and learns that Virgo is a sign ruled by Demeter, the goddess of fertility. This means Spica should be able to use plant magic. Spica becomes amazed when Claude explains how far her magic can go. She then learns that rebirth magic does not have a specific category. Spica feels special and considers focusing on rebirth magic, but Claude advises her not to consider it yet, reminding her it needs to be kept a secret. He wants to see how far she has progressed in controlling her magic, so he advises her to make a sprout grow. Spica pulls out her wand, and Claude reminds her of the use of a wand. Meanwhile, chanting is what activates the spell. He instructs her to picture how the plant will sprout because a clearer image will determine the output of magic. Spica starts chanting and her magic is released. The plant grows exceptionally big and she celebrates because this is her first spell. However, Claude is not too pleased since it shows poor control. He declares that he needs to make her a first-class magician so she can eventually break his curse. Spica feels a bit hurt since she was hoping to get praised. In her mind, she feels the perfect image of Claude begin to crack. Claude then asks her if she stopped the magic, which confuses her. Before Spica can answer, a branch coils around her and lifts her into the air. Claude does not seem to care too much and tells her to redo the spell. After an entire day of training, Claude is actually surprised. Spica is tangled up in her spell as he comments that Spica has very poor magical control. After finally getting saved, she comes to the realization that she has no talent. She pales because this means her chances of getting into Diane are low. Suddenly, one of her siblings calls her because their mother has a concern. Spica heads to the farm to find her mother with a broken leg. Because of her injury, she will not be able to help with harvesting the orchard, so Spica needs to do it. Spica worries about her entrance exams, but Claude suggests that she use magic to do the harvesting, so she can train at the same time. Claude adds that this will help pay from her entrance exam fee. Since she seems to agree with his reasoning, he tells her that for the next 6 months, farming will be her training. Spica wonders if that is enough to help her pass, and Claude says that it is entirely up to her. She decides to cast an anima spell to help with the harvesting, but her control is still off and she ends up crushing one of the oranges. However, she notices that her control has improved. Claude explains that it is mainly because she can imagine the orange trees more clearly, and Spica realizes that because she is familiar with the oranges, her visualization is better, which helps her control her magic. She begins feeling confident that she can train this way as Claude happily eats the damaged fruit. So Spica decides to put all of her effort into using her magic to help out on her family farm. Her family specializes in cultivating oranges, and the navel oranges are ripe for picking. She uses magic to try harvesting, but she often still ends up crushing the fruits by accident. Next, she tries pruning, but instead of using shears, she uses magic to adjust the length of the branches. Then comes the harvesting of the blood oranges, but before she can do that, she needs a lot of preparation, such as pest control, fending off birds, and weather protection, all assisted with magic. She reflects on her life so far and admits that it is exhausting every single day, but she sees the fruits of her labor and how much sweeter the oranges are. The days are also spent training her stamina by running, and the evenings are spent studying. 6 months pass like that, and it is finally the day before the exams. With amazing precision, she manages to cast anima without mistakes and is even able to harvest the oranges by using the branches to help cut the fruit off the trees. In no time at all, boxes of oranges are filled to the brim. Spica feels like she managed to do everything she could, and Claude and her mother agree. Her mother is proud of her since she managed to harvest everything in just half a day by herself. To her, Spica is a first-class farmer. Spica tears up and promises to grow the best oranges ever before correcting herself on her goal. She shakes and wonders if mastering just one spell is enough to get her into the academy. Claude admits he isn't sure since the nature of the exam changes every year. He tells her luck plays a role as well. The next day, on the way to the exam site, Arya makes fun of Spica for only knowing magic to make plants grow. Spica feels a little irritated at Arya, so she tells her that if she passes and Arya fails, she will make sure to laugh hard at her. In truth, Spica is extremely nervous. She's a little worried that Claude is not with her, and she notices that her bag even feels like it is weighing her down. They get on a carriage to take them to the exam site, and Spica expresses her worry since everyone around them looks really powerful. Arya is confident that she is the strongest, so she remains relaxed. After a while, Arya and Spica notice that they are moving farther away from the academy. Suddenly, a piece of the cliff begins falling toward them, and everyone's shocked as the carriage shakes. Everyone begins panicking because this means they might not make it to the exam site, but Spica is stunned when a giant stone golem forms in front of them. The golem then slams the ground next to the carriage, propelling it off the ground and sending it crashing down. Spica is confused about what is happening, and Claude finally reveals himself to have tied along inside her backpack. He explains that the golem is most likely being controlled by a magician. Several students begin fleeing the scene, and Claude notices that it seems to be targeting the students. Arya suddenly steps in front of the golem, insulting it for getting in the way of their exam. Using her Aquarius magic, she casts a Hydra cannon, causing it to be pulverized. Claude is impressed with her skills and explains that Arya's magic can control water and its properties. He acknowledges that Arya is probably one of the most talented magicians taking the exams this year, but he knows that the fight is far from over. Suddenly, the golem begins reconstructing itself. Claude reminds Spica that she already read about golems in the library, so she should know about their weakness. Spica does remember facing one in the library and learning that it should have a core somewhere that acts as a heart. She studies it as the stones begin to gather and notices that there is a stone with the word Ameth written on it. She remembers that those are the words needed to create the golem, and if you remove the first E in the word, the golem will turn back into clay. She decides she needs to tell Arya what she knows, but Claude stops her. Claude reminds her that she has been training with magic for the past 6 months, so she needs to be the one to defeat the stone golem. Spica thinks it is impossible, but Claude tells her that Arya is fighting in front of her right now. He reminds her that the reason she wants to become a first-class magician is to save people. That is enough for Spica to act. As Arya struggles to avoid the golem's attacks, Spica suddenly uses Anima to pull her away from the golem. Arya is shocked that Spica managed to save her, and Spica suddenly stands up. She tries to calm herself, but she cannot stop the shaking in her legs or the tears that prick her eyes. She looks at Arya and asks if she can fight beside her. Arya stands and asks if Spica can handle it because it is clear that she is frightened. Spica admits that she is scared, but she wants to be a magician who can protect everyone. Seeing her determination, Arya agrees to help her. Spica shares that all they need to do is erase the first letter on the golem's core. Arya is confused, and Spica reassures her that she can destroy the core. All Arya needs to do is make the golem fall apart again. Arya calmly tells her that she cannot do that anymore because she does not have enough mana to cast another large spell. The golem attacks them again, and they manage to dodge. The golem then prepares to attack the other students nearby. It launches a boulder onto the path leading down the mountain, effectively blocking everyone from escaping. Before any real damage can be done to the students, Spica runs toward the golem and scatters seeds, causing them to sprout and restrain the golem. Arya is shocked because she thought Spica was only using magic for her farming. Claude smiles because he knows the farm work trained her stamina and control. Even if Spica only knows Anima, she has mastered it to an exceptional degree. Arya then grows frustrated because to her, Spica is no longer cute and useless. Suddenly, the golem scatters itself to break free, allowing Spica to see the core again. Spica is about to destroy the core, but before she can, the golem suddenly throws its stones at her, forcing her to focus on protecting herself. She considers waiting for another opening, but the stones eventually break through. Before anything hits her, Arya casts Aqua Sphere to protect Spica. Arya teases her for trying to get the win for herself, then encourages Spica to end the fight. Spica uses her spell like a whip and is able to slice the core, separating the first letter E. Immediately, the golem begins disintegrating, and the rest of the students start cheering. Arya asks when Spica became so strong, but Spica credits Arya's support and says she was simply lucky today. But then a voice suddenly says that luck is not enough to defeat a golem. Justice, the vice principal, reveals himself and begins speaking to Spica. Spica becomes suspicious, thinking he might be responsible for the golem, but Claude recognizes him as the vice principal, which makes Spica pale. Justice introduces himself to the students, and they begin asking about the exam, which he reveals is already over. Claude hops off Spica's shoulder, already guessing that the golem was the test. The other students begin complaining because they would have fought it if they had known the golem was part of the exam. Justice explains that magic can be used for good or evil. Diana Academy wants to prioritize teaching magic to those with sound hearts, so the surprise test is used to measure their character. He commends Arya for being the first to stand against the golem and then praises Spica for her bravery despite only knowing one spell. He walks closer to both girls and tells them that they are accepted into Diana Academy. He then prepares to leave, telling both girls that he will see them again at Diana. Arya pouts, happy that she passed, but something still bothers her. Meanwhile, Spica is crying tears of joy. She pouts because Claude is not praising her again. But this time Claude actually does commend her, making her blush as she is reminded of the image of him she once had. Spica thinks about how messy her feelings toward Claude have become. She realizes that she only made it this far because of his guidance. She smiles, feeling reassured that Claude truly is an amazing magician. On another day, the principal, Jean, receives a letter from Claude. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and see what happens next.